Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome. Welcome, infinite beings. Welcome to the Infinite Me, where we're talking about everything to do with living an infinite life. And you don't have to awaken to your powers or ascend to them. You already have all your infinite superpowers inside you. You just probably have never, well, not never used them, but maybe not as fully aware of them as you could be.
Yep.
So we're here to talk all about that and how we can use them in our everyday life and start playing with them all and living more infinitely.
Yes.
So I am Mandy, and over there is Nat. And so every day we're having a chat in the moment about a topic that we pull in the present moment, which we'll talk about in a minute. And we just see whatever's coming up to chat about that topic at the time. So always to do with how we can live more infinitely. But so today, well, yesterday we did speak about feeling into the shadows and how, like, versus avoiding them, if you like. So going into the dark, the supposed dark stuff that we maybe don't want to look at sometimes, and how that's actually kind of key to taking our energy and power back out of those stories. We kind of do have to go through them rather than pushing them down and trying to be positive all the time. It doesn't actually work. So expedite your journey, and to actually be infinite, you do actually have to move through the supposed dark ego stuff as well. So that's what that chat was all about. So check out that one.
So no positive thinking
at all.
We don't want to see anybody thinking positively.
Yeah, just joking. Just has to be balanced.
Just balance. Just make sure you have some negative thoughts too.
So if you haven't seen what we're doing for our topics, we've got what we call an infinite lucky dip. So we've got a little bag of all these different topics that we've written on little post-it notes. And we just pull out one for the day, and then whatever that topic is what we talk about in the moment. So there's no kind of preparation that's gone into the talk.
There's no thought gone into it. You'll be happy to know we're not thinking about anything.
Yeah. So the idea, I guess, is that we are definitely trying to live the infinite, sort of in that infinite space where we just be totally present in the moment and see what wants to come through us. So yeah. So okay, so we'll do a little.
Here we go. What does the infinite want us to talk about today, Mandy?
All right.
It is the energy of fluoro yellow.
Yes, fluoro yellow. Okay, you don't need a vision board, which I think was
Woo-wee!
one that Nat for it.
Don't think positively, and you don't need a vision board.
Yeah.
We really are busting some myths here.
That's true. They actually go quite good together, those two topics.
Backing on yesterday's conversation.
Yes.
Oh dear. So you don't need a vision board. God, what was I thinking when I said that? No. It's interesting with the whole vision board thing, because it's something I've really struggled with over the years. And I know a lot of people. Hey, Sharon. Sharon's just shown up in the house.
Hello.
Hello. And yeah, something I've definitely struggled with over the years is the whole idea of a vision board. It just, I don't know, I just never really got into it for a start. Then I felt a bit left behind because I didn't get into it, and I felt like I should, particularly when The Secret came out and everybody was doing a vision board and everyone was talking about attracting things. So a couple of times I've bought into the story of all that. But I've got to be honest, it just never gelled. So I think I've always questioned the whole idea of a vision board, and I don't know, sticking up things on a wall that I probably never really gelled with, if I was really honest.
Yeah.
The big houses and the cars and all that sort of stuff. Now I own nothing. I own literally 23 kilos or 50 pounds to my name of clothes and technology, and just travel the world. So I don't own a home. I don't have any possessions. So I don't own a car. So none of those things are really true for me. There you go.
I think the idea where we talked about when maybe originally we sort of were talking about this topic a little bit offline was around this idea that oftentimes we, I suppose it can be a stage in the journey, like using a vision board as a way to maybe focus your energy a bit. But this is where it does get a little bit tricky, like what you're saying, in terms of it has to be what's true for you too, because we often just think we want a lot of that stuff. And a lot of the time we put material based things on vision boards, not always. Sometimes we are putting sort of feeling based, things, how we want to be more in our life, which is all fine as well too, as long as those things are true and we're not trying to be a certain way because we think it's going to get us to a certain outcome, or it's going to expedite our spiritual journey, or it's going to be more enlightened if we do that. We've just got to be we've really got to check in with ourselves, I suppose, if how much of that is still run by the identities that we might be still attached to, which come from the ego. So if we have still identities around being a certain way, like even just being spiritual is like still an identity that we can attach to a lot as well. So we do just check in, I think, a bit with the whole vision board thing, that it's not, I don't know, in my mind, it's not necessary to get the things that you think you want in your life. Like there is, even the whole thing about setting intentions, it's still very head-based in my mind. Like it's, the more we're just filling into that infinite space and being more creative, then I think we get closer to what's actually true for us. Sometimes in our mind, we have a very fixed idea of what we think success even looks like, or what would make us happy, but sometimes we don't even know what that is. Like we think we do, but the more that you sort of move into that infinite space, you sort of find that it's less about material things for sure, and more about experience-based things. And it feels like it gets simpler and simpler, which I think we've talked about that concept before too, about that you don't want for very much, like it, and it doesn't mean you can't have things in your life, but you just don't need them, if put it that way. The need aspect kind of goes.
It's sort of funny with the whole tradition of the vision board. I think, people getting together, and I think The Secret sort of really brought this up for people, like, grab all your secret buddies, and sorry, I kept kicking that thing, and let's get all old magazines and sit there together. And we did this. We invited a couple of people over, and I remember sitting at the big table in DY, cutting out pictures and putting them on a vision board. And it's so easy to get caught in what everybody else is like. Oh, check this out! Like, check this ring out. That's amazing. Oh my God, look at this car. This is so amazing. Look at that guy. Like, oh, I would so love a partner like that. So it's just like hype, and it's a fun exercise to do with friends. And I'm not saying that it doesn't do anything in terms of expanding your mind. Like, I think it does, definitely. And if anything that does expand your mind, I think it serves, definitely. So it gives you more possibilities, and then suddenly it seems a little bit more possible or tangible by going through that exercise. So I think that's a good exercise, but it's almost like, don't put too much credence in it and don't put too much power into it, because then it sits on a wall. And this is what Jodie always talks about as well, is like, the problem with the vision board is that it sits on a wall, and then there's this massive gap between you and what's on the vision board. And it's like, now what? Like, I have no idea how to create any of that. So it just doesn't even seem real or possible, or I don't know. It's almost like you moved it outside of yourself, rather than the whole manifesting process is the internal process that goes on. It's got nothing to do with the outside world. At the end of the day, what shows up in reality is purely because of what's gone on the inside. And I feel like almost a vision board sometimes actually removes it from that internal process and makes it like, oh, I've got to go and work more, because then I'll have money and I can go and buy that house that I'm looking at on the wall all the time. I'll go and sit in the Ferrari in the dealership, and that will bring it closer to me. And I was like, no, it doesn't work that way. So I think it's sort of the process that people go through. I shun a little bit, like, where it's gone to in terms of has got a little bit screw with it as to where it should have been. Which is, use it to expand your mind and what's possible. That's cool. But then you're right. It's sort of like, okay, as human beings, we sort of say, oh, we want to have the car and the boat and the house and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, it comes from such a limited space about what's possible for us, because it is all head-based. And so it can only be a construct of what we know to be possible, either for ourselves or in general in the world. It's like, yep, people have boats that look like that. They have a house that looks like that, and they have relationships that look like X, Y, Z. So yeah, it's possible. It's a bit like the 4-minute mile. So
Yes.
nobody could run 4-minute miles until Roger Bannister did it, and then suddenly all these people could suddenly do it. And it was like, oh, okay, it's possible for the human race to be able to do that now. And it's sort of the same thing. It's like you're looking at the outside world to see what's possible for us. And I think that's cool too, because it does expand the mind, but then it's like it's still limited in its form about what's possible.
Yeah.
Until we go internally and go, and what if we were to say to ourselves, actually, I don't know what I want. I have no idea as a human being. And so I'm just going to leave it up to the infinite to work it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that work?
I was just thinking about along the lines of what you're just saying too, about the putting things on the vision board. It feels then like we might look at them and we sort of think, okay, if I focus on these things and, you know, I'll bring them into my reality more the more I focus on them and see them as mine and things like that. But it does still feel like it's that outside of you manifestation, which, you know, we've talked about before, is not actually possible. You have to create it from the inside out. It's that whole idea of the movie screen analogy that we've talked about before. Like, it almost feels like the vision board is the movie screen outside of you, which you can't actually change. So when you're watching a movie, you can't go up to the screen and change a character or do something. It's already happened. Like the script's been written, the movie's been filmed already. You can't change it. So the only way you can change it is by changing the movie reel that's cut, that the projector is kind of, you know, projecting up onto the screen. So it sort of feels a bit the same, almost like those things feel a little bit outside of you. So if that's what you're putting your focus on, it still feels like it's a I don't know, just trying to think of the wording around it. Like, it feels like it's something you have to create. Like, whereas it's more if you're lining up with the feeling of that thing that you think it's going to give you, that experience, or the feeling that you're going to get from having that thing or owning that material object or wearing that clothing or whatever it is that you've got up on the board. It's more that feeling. So I guess it's more about that internal space of lining up with that feeling. So you've already got that thing. So maybe it's got nothing to do with the outside, you know, manifestation of what that's like, because as you said, we don't, you know, we have a very limited idea of what we think we want based on what we know, like what we've seen around us and what other people have and what we see success means. Like, maybe, you know, we see it everywhere around us in social media and magazines and things like that. So we do have a limited idea, I think, of what will make us happy. But the more we do move into that infinite space, we'll probably be quite, you know, surprised by what would actually make us happy. It's probably not what we think, as you said. So yeah, I don't know. So I suppose if you're putting your focus on those other things, are you putting your focus on the wrong things? Like, are they the things that would bring you ultimately the most happiness? Perhaps you're limiting yourself by
that's what I wonder. Is it just, maybe it's a limited board? But it's true. It's sort of like, if you can only create something from a construct that already exists type thing, then there's no possibility of anything different coming to you. And I would challenge anyone right now listening to this. It's like, really ponder on the different things that you have in your life right now, the stuff that you really love, like your lifestyle or your partner, or maybe it is your bank account or your business. And it's like, do you really think that you ever thought about having those things? Like, for me, I can say that my life is actually really different to what I would ever have imagined.
I would say the same.
But it feels perfect.
Yeah,
I wouldn't change a thing of it. So it's sort of like, did I actually have at any stage any idea? Like, I'm not saying you don't get visions and feelings and stuff. Obviously, you have to get some inspired feelings to be able to move towards things. This project is an example of that, for instance. So we both felt it, we moved towards it, we took action, we continue to take action every day on it. We're doing other things behind the scenes, like we're following those inspired actions and feelings. So I'm not saying you don't ever have a vision, but if this is just an example of how it happens, it's like, do we really, like you or I, have a vision of how it's actually going to unfold from here?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we've
No,
got an idea how it might, and
Mm.
I could possibly put up a few things on a vision board of what I think it's going to look like. But the truth is that I really don't know.
Yes.
Like, it'll probably be better than what I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
and what
Ultimately.
you think as well.
Yes.
Maybe some of the glimpses that you've had into, say, like the immersion center and, you know, the experience
Mm.
center and stuff like that, the one and all different things that you've talked about and stuff, they probably will come into fruition and into reality, definitely,
Yes.
because you've seen them so many times over. I gel with them. We haven't got a plan for them or anything, but we just sort of have a knowing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it'll probably look quite different when it does. So it's
Yeah.
sort of like, I really have to question, like, whether you actually ever have a true vision of how something's going to play out, or what it's going to actually ultimately look like.
Yeah.
Enough
I think
to put it on a vision board.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. And it does, well, I think the answer to that would ultimately be we don't, because like we're only ever going to come at it from our limited mind things, so we can never actually access that unknown capacity. Like, we can open the space for that, you know, infinite feeling to move through us, and then we follow through on that, but we still don't have a knowing of what's going to unfold. Like, we never do. We're always in that unknown co-creative space. So it probably, just even logically thinking about it, we would never know what's going to actually unfold. We can have a little glimpse, as you said, but you're never going to see the whole thing. It's never going to unfold like you think it's going to. Yeah.
And to be honest, do you really want to? Like, I'd rather not know.
Yeah.
Because then it's a surprise every time it happens, and it's always better than what you think it's going to be. So it's sort of like, I almost don't want to get involved in that process. I want it to
don't be attached to anything.
and be whatever it can be in the moment, in its fullness. Not me sort of going, oh, okay, I could have got $1 billion, but I only got $1 million because that's what I put on my vision board. Like, for instance, you know, I could have had this great thing, but because I got involved in it, I diminished it back to this limited space. So if we sort of think about how the humanness gets involved in the manifestation process, all we're doing is putting limitations on it every single time we get involved in it in any way. So that's sort of like, I'm really learning the art of stepping back and going, I don't want to get involved now. Like, before that used to be really scary. Now I'm sort of actually really embracing it and going, yeah, like, bring it on. Like, show me what you got. That's really cool. What can we play with? What's the infinite going to come up with?
As I was feeling like, if you're going to put your effort into something, it feels like the more you can just put your effort into staying in that infinite space and creating as much inner space as you can, like, that's the best activity I feel like you can put your time and energy into. If you're going to do anything, it's kind of like spending more time in that infinite space and the feeling into the creativity and the potential and tuning into what's coming through you. Like, that's going to be the best space to create anything beyond what you can put on a vision board, I think, as well, rather than sitting there in a very limited capacity and focusing on something thinking that's going to bring it into your reality. Like, that feels really, like, quite boring in some ways. Like, it's kind of,
it really does, doesn't it?
When you think about, just sort of thing, as I'm feeling about that now, it's just like, it feels actually quite boring because it's known. Like, it's almost like there is an aspect of that.
It's linear and no possibility in it, no creativity in it.
There isn't a lot of creativity, and it feels a bit limited from the aspect of, we don't know what's possible beyond that. So maybe we are putting a really small cap on what we could actually have, like, by attaching it to that particular form or what we think. And it was quite funny what you're saying about, if you think about your life now and what you might have put on a vision board 10 years ago, 15 years ago, versus how you're living your life now. And I would say, 100% that my life looks different to the vision board that I remember kind of creating at the time. Like, and I remember putting things on it like, like diamond rings, and I probably had like a picture of a boat on there, and like probably a car, or maybe some, like, I'm thinking like some beach sort of location, you know, like Hawaii or something like that, as if like you're just having this glamorous lifestyle of living on a beach. And so if I think about all that now, it's just like I rarely wear jewelry, so like why would I put, like, I used to a little bit, but even then I was never really that into jewelry. And I still admire jewelry. I look at jewelry and I think, oh, it would be nice to have maybe an odd piece or two that you just wear somewhere. But then, oh, can you hear me? Hello? Don't know if Nat has frozen or I have frozen. Hello? Oh,
Okay,
you're back?
we might be back. I think that was my
Yes.
glitch in the matrix of the internet here in Paris. Maybe it's still disappeared from home up.
It's turned into a static vision board. Yep.
Static vision board. So I missed all of that. So you don't wear diamond rings. That's about the last thing I got.
Yeah, I was just saying in terms of that, like I rarely wear jewelry, so it's kind of like just seems odd that I would even put that on there. Maybe at the time I might have been a bit more into, I don't know, like it just sort of feels, now it feels like a bit of a, going by my lifestyle, it just doesn't even feel like it fits in to my lifestyle. But I would still look at a nice piece of jewelry or something and think, oh, that'd be nice to have, just even from a design perspective or something like that. It's nothing, for me, it's nothing to do about, I couldn't care less if it was a diamond or wasn't a real diamond. Like I don't care. But yeah, sometimes more just from the design aspects. I think, oh, maybe one day when I had that lifestyle that might match that, then maybe sort of thing. But right now it doesn't match at all, like with how I live my life. But even just having a boat, I don't think I'd ever want to even own a boat. So it's like, why would I put that on there? If I think about beach locations, I don't mind going to a beach, but I never, like my husband and I never pick going to a beach and sitting on a beach for a week as a holiday. It just does not interest me at all. Like I couldn't think of anything more boring, to be perfectly honest. Like it's kind of like I want to be climbing up a mountain or exploring something different. Like we always like sort of activity-based stuff. Like that's just what we do. And so just even all that sort of stuff, I think about how we live now. Like you said, it's so far, even like the fact that I thought I would have children, like, and we never ended up having children. It was just didn't feel right as we sort of moved on in our life. And
you didn't envisage them enough then. With
yes,
on the board.
Didn't put them on my vision board, so they didn't manifest.
You would have put them.
So yeah, it is quite true what you're saying. Like when you think about how your life has turned out, unless those things you're putting on your vision board are true. So that's the
only thing that was true was travel.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Travel did feature quite heavily on my vision board. More than I did at that time.
Yes.
And that has definitely stayed consistent through everything.
Yes.
But it looks different to what I thought it was going to look like. Yeah. So I had like safaris up and I don't know what I had up, but it would have been like touristy type things. And I hate touristy things. Like we never do touristy stuff when we travel now, which is really funny. That's the difference between a traveler and a tourist.
Yeah.
But
So it is funny how it isn't like what you actually envisaged most of the time as well too, unless it is actually really true for you, those things. But even then, I think some people put things on vision boards and they might actually manifest them completely, 100% as they've seen them on a vision board too. But that still doesn't mean that was a true thing for them either, because you can bring anything into reality that you put enough hustle and hard work into. You can bring anything into your life really at the end of the day. But it's just whether it's a true thing, whether it's in alignment with who you truly are, and if it's like playing at that infinite level versus just kind of a limited, or this is what I can have because it's based on an identity or what we think success is, and it's going to bring us happiness or fulfillment, and then we get those things and we find that they don't actually bring us those things that we think we wanted.
That's it. I think that's a really important point, is that putting something on a vision board and putting all your power into it, a bit like the law of attraction, sort of the secret talked about, is like, you want a car, put it on your vision board, like really feel yourself inside the car. Excuse me.
Yes.
Go to the dealership, sit inside the car, the smell, like surround yourself with the senses of having that car. And then it's more likely to come into your reality, and absolutely 100% it will. If you work hard enough for it, or hard enough, I guess is the right word. You work for it, and you'll create it, definitely. But then you'll sit there one day and just go, why did I get this car? Like,
Yeah. Or is
now
that
it's
it?
breaking
Would I do
down.
it differently or
Now
something?
I've got this rego and the services, and I got this and I got that, and all this stuff, like all the positive stuff that went into the vision board, vision of it, and what you thought it was going to be like was all the
Yes.
positive stuff. And now you suddenly get hit with the reality, which is a lot of balancing negative stuff. And it's like, oh, actually, it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be like. It's
Yeah.
like, and we've all had that experience of where we've worked towards a goal of some description, whether it be a material object or a business thing or a money goal or whatever, and we've got it and gone, was that it?
Yeah.
Like, really? I worked
Yes.
my butt off for that. Like, you're kidding. So it's like, to me, it is all about fulfillment now. Like, the stuff that's true for you will be 100% fulfilling for you. You
Mm.
won't want it changed. You'll just embrace both sides of it, the good and the bad of it, and it doesn't matter. Like, it's just, if it is totally true for you to be doing a particular thing or owning a particular thing or having a particular thing, then it's like, yeah, I don't need to worry about the positive or negative. The positive or negative of that thing doesn't come into play anymore. It just is just perfect for you.
Yes.
So Jodie
Yeah.
just wrote in the other room. First versions of vision boards are usually created by other people's desires, not truly your own. Not intentionally, of course. Yeah, 100%. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. We usually we're very influenced by what we think we want and it's not necessarily our fault either. It's kind of, it's like Jodie was saying, it's not really intentional either. It's just that we get so bombarded by media and magazines and Instagram now these days and all that type of stuff where we see all these really, and they do draw you in, like they look really exciting and glamorous and you think, wow, that would be fun. Like, but I think we don't sort of go further than that sometimes and kind of go, would I really want that lifestyle? Like, would I truly want that? Like, is that actually me? I look at some of those things, think, oh, wow, that'd be really cool to sort of live that life. And then I sort of think, God, I couldn't be bothered with the maintenance or the upkeep of keeping that lifestyle. It's just like, I really could not be bothered. Like, even just like, say, even if it was like appearance based, like to do with having the latest clothes or, glamorous nails done all the time or something, or I don't know, makeup or tanning, getting tans done all the time. It's just like, oh, I seriously couldn't be bothered. Like, I don't care. Like, I mean, not saying to anyone that enjoys doing that stuff, but it's kind of,
if you like it, there are people that genuinely enjoy that.
But yeah, I think maybe because we've just come from husband and I just come back from the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia, and there is a real culture when you're sort of down on the beachfront at the sort of glamorous, cafes and bars and things that are down near the beach, that there's this whole sort of genre of people, I guess, that sort of just epitomize that, just there to be seen, basically, like people you see on Instagram that constantly taking selfies and then posting them straight away and all that kind of lifestyle. And and like the really short dresses and the, dolled up to the nines and the and sort of, it just feels, and like, the guys, very buffed guys, but like running around with no shirts everywhere as if like, they don't own clothes or something.
I suddenly forgot their shirt.
It's really quite funny. So it's so funny seeing back and just watching, because it's so put on, like it's just so inauthentic. It just feels for most of those people like it's just it's just funny just being around that, just kind of going, wow, I'm so glad I didn't get caught up in that sort of lifestyle. That it just feels like it's really high maintenance. It just feels like it would take so much energy to keep maintaining that all the time. And it's just like, I seriously could not be bothered creating that image in the first place to then have to maintain something like that. But if someone finds that fun and to play with, then, all power to them, as long as it's true for you at the end of the day, I suppose.
That's how you want to express, go for it. Like, this definitely, it's true for some people. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think, we do see things on Instagram in particular or something like that, and we do just sort of think, oh, that'd be really fun, but we don't actually think about the implications sometimes of living that type of a lifestyle sort of thing and all the things that might bring with it, as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you say like the maintenance of things. Like, I think that's the part you don't really think about oftentimes. You get this great house or the car or the boat or all the stuff from the board, and then it's like, oh, I've actually got to maintain all these things now,
Yes.
like not only financially but also
Yes.
the day-to-day maintenance of it.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, whereas I guess now traveling all the time, and you'd be experiencing this as well, where we don't actually have a home. Now we go house sitting. So it's sort of quite interesting that you could actually have the mindset of being a steward of other things, that you don't have to own stuff, and you can still enjoy them. So,
Yes.
you're in Tasmania traveling around to different places, we're overseas traveling around. We get the full use of a home. We get the full use of the car. We get full use of their pets. We don't
Yes.
have to own pets. You get to borrow those as well. It's almost like borrowing somebody else's life without actually owning it. And then at the end of your 2 weeks or 2 months, you go, thanks very much. That was really fun. I'm off to the next experience.
Yeah, it is quite funny.
It is really interesting. And it's like we sort of really developed the whole concept of the thought process around being just stewards of things. And it's a really interesting feeling, where you do come into somebody's home, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody to be a house sitter.
Yeah.
But it is just a really interesting concept to be that, and to talk about this now that we're talking about owning stuff or not owning stuff. And it's like, if you were just a steward of something, and that might be just renting something as well, maybe you just rent the car or the house or something and you don't have to maintain it,
Yes.
then it's just a really a different experience of it, sort of thing. Like, you really get to, I feel like when we come into somebody's home, we look after it probably better than we would look after our own home, because we are a steward of it for that period of time, and we just really enjoy it because we don't have to worry about the mortgage or the electricity or the utilities, or whether the gutters are leaking, or the furniture's falling apart or whatever. Like, we don't have any of those worries about anything suddenly. And so you get to enjoy stuff without the worry of it. And that's, I don't know, it's just a very different way of living, and a very different way of having stuff in your space. Stuff off a vision board that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
Not true for everyone. I totally get that.
Yeah. Yep.
So Louise is in the house. Hello, Louise is in the house. So Louisa actually had asked, you have a vision board. I think she was asking Jody that. Been there, we had all the nails, and had the nails to prove it. But yeah, it wasn't for me, the reflection of what others wanted me to be. Yeah. Jody wrote back to Louise. Sort of getting the feedback here. Louise, not for a decade or so. Like the girl said at the start, the act of cutting out images while in circle with friends is a fun activity, but that's about it for me. I just don't get to gel with them. I prefer to live it, create new desires in the flow of now. Whereas I learn deeper, truer levels of what I want, which tends to come from experiencing what I don't want first. That's a really good point.
Actually. Yes. And that almost goes a little bit with the topic we did talk about yesterday about the shadows, and whether we actually said this or not, I don't know, but it's almost like that concept of, like, if you don't know the dark, you don't know the light. Like, it's kind of, we need that contrast at times, like what Jodie's saying, like, you do need the contrast sometimes of what you don't want to really clarify what is actually true for you sometimes as well. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's definitely a good point.
Yeah.
I think it's comes back full circle to what we were saying, is like, a human being often does not know what they want.
Yeah.
So why try and figure it out? Like, just put energy in being present, enjoying the moment, and following whatever feels true for you in the moment.
That's true.
Those inspired actions, because it's going to take you to what you love.
Yes.
Or it's trying to point you to all the time. So it's just only us as human beings that we get caught in the process of interrupting that flow. So if we took our hands off the wheel and actually just enjoyed the ride, we're here to play after all. Just play with it all, then see what turns up, because what shows up is what you love. It's actually really simple.
I was thinking one of my mentors, Jennifer Hoff, who've done quite a bit of work with from the Wide Awakening, she said, if you're ever going to have a vision board, and I think I may have shared this on a previous video, but she said, if you're ever going to have a vision board, like maybe the top third, put up some stuff that you think you do want, that sort of inspires you and feels true, and then sort of draw a line across and leave like the bottom 2/3 blank, and just write all better, because you're basically leaving it up to the infinite then to provide you with probably more creative possibilities than what you can even, your imagination can let you even think of right now too. So it does leave that space open for more stuff, the or better to come in, like to be surprised and delighted by what comes in, rather than your mind trying to come up with the of what you think you want, as we've just been talking about. So I always like that kind of concept. If you do like the idea of doing a visual or something like that, and that does assist you, then that's kind of a way of keeping it quite open as well, and still allowing the infinite potential to flow into it too.
Yeah, it's a nice merging of the two together, isn't it? Like, that is a really good idea, Jennifer.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Very cool. There you go, vision boards. There's our little ponderings on them.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yes, it's sort of interesting after The Secret came out and the law of attraction became a bigger thing. Like, it was always a thing, but it became a bigger thing.
Yes.
The whole law of attraction, maybe we'll speak about this at some stage, but put that in your little bag. That the law of attraction really automatically implies that things are outside of you. It has to, just by its very nature. So that you're attracting something outside of you to you.
Yes.
And that's not true. So
yeah.
But
and
it is concept behind it, though. Like,
yeah, I was going to say it still actually holds true, but I think just the way it often gets taught, it gets skewed. So it still is like a universal law in our reality, if you like in terms of that whole idea of what you put your focus on is where your energy goes. So that's what you do draw into your experience. If you keep focusing on negative things all the time, then you do tend to create more of that, because that's what you keep thinking you're putting into your story all the time as well. So it is there is there is the truth absolutely to that too, but it goes beyond a little bit more. If I just focus on a car all the time, then a car's going to come into my reality. We kind of get stuck at that material level sometimes, with law of attraction in particular.
Yeah, I agree. It's really the way it's been taught and presented to people. Probably been misconstrued.
It wasn't like the whole story, particularly The Secret. It definitely didn't. It wasn't that it wasn't true, but it didn't give the whole story. Absolutely didn't give the whole story. So it's probably good at the time for just maybe waking people up a little bit to looking a bit more consciously at their life, but it definitely didn't give the whole picture. And a lot of people probably got very frustrated with with that at the time, because they thought, they just said, I just have to think about a car and it will come be on my driveway tomorrow. It just doesn't work like that. Yeah. We have so many limitations in the way of that actually happening, the way we think, our reality is created. So yes.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. There you go.
Yes.
That's it. That's vision boards.
Yes. Done.
Tick that off. Tick that off the vision board. Vision boards are done.
Let us know in the comments what do you think about vision boards? Do you like them? Maybe they work for you. So it's not dispelling that they don't work at all either. But it's just more, if you feel true for you, if you've got a really clear sense of what is true for you, then and that works for you as a visual reminder, then great. Go ahead.
If you're a visual person, then that can help.
Yeah, I still like the idea of having visual things around me, but not to inspire and things like that. There's nothing at all wrong with doing that too, but it's when we get attached to those things and we think we really want that thing to feel fulfilled, or I think it's going to make us happy, or it's got to come in that form, or we think actually that's what will make us happy, and sometimes we don't even know that, as we've talked about. So yes, let us know if you've got caught up on vision boards before, or if they've worked for you, and we'd love to hear.
Definitely.
Yes.
Very cool. All right, that's it.
Thanks for joining us.
There's a wrap. Yes, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you all tomorrow.
Bye.
All right. Vision infinitely.